Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. This is another Joe Dunaway Narin masterpiece, another Predator kit. Let's check him out. This is Savage REVGUN. I don't know, again, I've mentioned this before, I don't know how Narin comes up with these names. I mean, some of them are like obvious, like the Aboriginal, right? I mean, I understand that. But others like Razix, King Skull Valdez, like this one, Savage REVGUN. I don't know, man. I have no idea. But this came out a while back. And this is the first one that Joe has painted up. So this is like Savage REVGUN 1, so to speak. And I'm just, of course, as usual, over the moon happy with it. And we're just going to take our time, checking it out, going over all that wonderful detail. Kind of the interesting thing that I see is like with my eyes, when I see it, it's kind of under the overhead lights. And it's a lot darker. Like there's a lot more shadows, there's a lot more texture. But somehow on my like iPhone 12 camera, even though I don't have the flash on, I totally like adjusted it. It just seems a little bit more washed out. I don't know. I'll play with it maybe at the end of the video and I'll try to adjust the light a little bit. I'm not very good with, like iPhone camera stuff. I'm not a professional videographer or photographer. I'm just making videos of, cool shit I have that I really like to talk about. So, have some patience with me, I guess. But for now, this is just like standard setting, and I definitely see a big difference between what I'm like recording and what it looks like in real life. So just know that in real life, it's a lot less saturated and just looks a lot better. And I'll try to show that again, maybe at the end by just adjusting my camera a little bit. But, at the end of the day, no matter what, you're still going to be able to tell that this is like magnificent. So what's there to say? Why turn this bad boy around? Narin does the detail. Joe brings it all out. Look at the pose. This pose really reminds me of that one part of Predator, when the P1 is about to go mano a mano with Arnold. And it just sort of like, does this roar, right? And it kind of brings both arms to the side and it just kind of leans forward and roars. And I don't know if Narin was thinking about that, but this pose sort of reminds me of it with his arms to the side and the legs sort of akimbo, and he's just like, like roaring right now, right? In mid-roar. Looks, super badass. So I really, really like the pose. Again, reminds me of that iconic, scene from Predator 1 when he and Arnold's about to go at it. And let's check out the base. This is a very sort of futuristic base. So sometimes Narin might give you more of like a jungle base, or desert terrain, skulls. But for this one, he went futuristic. So I'm just sort of gonna take my time, show you all of that lovely weathering that Joe Dunaway does so well. Take a look at sort of the blue work on the inside of those grooves. Check out the weathering of the metal. Kind of, underrated work here. Easy to overlook. So I'm just kind of going close. So again, you can see all of that finish of the metallic finish here. So in lore, is it some sort of temple that he's at? Is it on a spaceship? What is it? Over here, you can see actually the Predator's blood splattered from a wound. You can see the splatter right here. And then the source of the wound up here near the leg. So it's like a cool touch right there. Very, very nice. That's a little bit of an addition by Joe. Let's take a look here at the metallics. Look at the work on the nails, the feet. Look at all of that detail. Look at all the weathering of the armor. It's all like next level. Really, really cool. Need to adjust some things a little bit. Got a little bit too close, started touching his arm spikes. Pretty cool. You can see the little nail come out of the side of the foot. Look at all that. Moving on up. Check out all the skin tones. Look at all the armor. Here goes right here. Just really love the weathering, the scratches. Beautiful paint job on the armor. And then here you go for the skin effects. Tons of quills all over. You can see the wonderful skin textures, the veining under the surface, all of the spots. So that's kind of what, separates the good and the great and the master predator painters. How well can you do the plussing with the quills? How well can you do the spots? And then, like his magic touch, one of the things that separates Dunaway so well is, again, the layers of airbrush where there's like a translucency to the effect of the skin, and you can see the subtle vein patterns underneath. It gives you, again, that feeling that there's depth, that this, what you're looking at is almost like skin, Only up close can you see all the work that went into putting in all these little porcupine quills. I think you're seeing that now. They're integrated so cleverly against the skin that just simple, very cursory inspection, you would miss all these little quills that had to be individually placed. Here's more of the plating. It's almost like samurai plating. And then the big swords, the knives that he has in the back. Here's the back. There's the dreads, the cabling that's going to his huge shoulder cannons, double shoulder cannons. Look at the fingers and the nails. Here's the I don't know, I forgot what you call these, like the arm spikes, the arm blades. Whatever. Really, really nicely done. And then he has these oversized shoulder pads attached with these amazing cannons. And of course, the highlight, the head. Look at the insane work done on that head. Look at the roar, look at the eyes. Here's the crown. And the dreads, all the details of the dreads. You got that look. It's like he painted the dreads to kind of showcase the reflection of the heat. And he painted the inside of the cannons, again, to reflect the power that's going to be coming out, trying to paint energy, so to speak. Look at that. All the little wires, the backpack. Let's look up. of backing out. I'm going to give this view right here medium as I rotate. A little bit closer as it rotates. You can kind of see as much of the details in the paint job as you can. Look at the work on the hands. Got quills all over the place. Had to be very careful touching the torso so you don't snap those quills off. Kind of giving you some views on the side, the back, profile on both sides, and then the front. Just kind of holding steady so you can admire all of the plussing. Look at all that work on the inside of the mouth. Again, all the vessel painting, the gloss. Look at the eyes. So a few things. I mean, I was just sort of admiring this from afar. So this on my kitchen countertop, and I'm sometimes, what I do is I eat over there. And I just like looked across and saw this thing on my turntable, and no lie, like you could see the quality of that paint job from just across the room. It's that special, hallmark of Joe's work where it feels like it's like more real than reality, There's like just a certain weight to these predators where there's just so much detail in the paint that you almost see the silhouette around these pieces. It just pops, It's hard to explain if you don't have one of these in person, but all of you who are fortunate enough to own like a Dunaway Narin piece knows what I'm talking about, where there's just so much to the piece that it's more than the eyes can take in. And when you just kind of casually look at it and it's just sort of being displayed, it just catches the eye. It just pops, And so I was kind of admiring that from afar. This is the first version of this particular piece that he's painted. I'm sure that over the years he'll do a few more of them. And he'll put different customizations. He will do the normal Joe Dunaway, plussing, different color schemes, stuff like that. And I'm sure that, it'll be different and he's going to evolve. It might be a little bit better or whatever. I'm down with that. I'm cool with that. I hope, that the later versions are better. But I'm, of course, just super happy because this is like the OG, right? The first one he did that he kind of just sets the tone for the rest of those paint-ups. His first initial instincts, right, as an artist to put this together. Really, really fantastic. Hyper detailed, beautiful pigmentation, beautiful quill work, beautiful weathering. That's kind of like what the Predator paint jobs are, right? All of them have these like criteria, right? And I'm trying to come up with the words myself because I don't really know how to get that vocabulary to properly review these. I'm not a painter. I'm not a modeler or a a sculptor, and so some of the terminology escapes me. All I know is it looks amazing, but in general I would say that predators have these following components that are the same, where we're always looking for them. And also the first, when it comes to the actual skin tones, it's always like what I call pigmentation, right? Like these predators are a lot like crocodiles, right? Or lizards. There's these patterns of the reptilian like skin, like a chameleon. And when you look at that, what details are put in there to bring out the texturing and the skin pigmentation, that particular combination of spots and patterns. That's always what we look for first of all, right? Any type of predator paint up is that type of thing. Look at that right there. And again, the veining, the depth of the skin, how convincing is it? Does it look like a lizard's skin is in front of you? So that's what I think about when I think about pigmentation and skin work. And related to that is the plussing. What are the chains? What are the skeletons, the skulls, the quills? Are you going to put tribal tattoos? Does that fit? What story are you trying to tell when you create these predators? Because when you think about it, the original predator lore is so boring, right? We got one jungle hunter, we got one city hunter, we got a couple cameos at the end of P2, Predator 2. And so one of the things that Narin has done so well, and he's inspired many sculptors to go that route, but he still dominates that space. And one of the things that's still so amazing is that he kind of opened up that world. I mean, that world was opened with the Dark Horse comics, the AVP, kind of franchise, etc. But Narin takes that basic predator template and he just does so much with it. He's just so imaginative with the sort of poses he creates, the sort of armor he puts on, and just within the statue, and then with what Joe does to bring it to life, there's like a story, right? Like there's a lore inherent in it. And you're looking at what's that story about, right? So here he is. The base predator just has one cannon. This guy has two. They look much more, elaborate and impressive than your normal shoulder cannons. And he's created these huge shoulder pads to accommodate the cannon, right? And then Joe's bringing it to life with the color, so that when I'm taping it, I think when you take pictures or when you're doing shooting through a camera, that paint app for the cannons is way more convincing. It really looks like it's about to heat up. Normally you have to get these effects with actual LEDs or with real light. But, in this case, all of this is achieved through just paint, So that's kind of a really interesting effect. And I think it looks actually slightly better through the lens of a camera, photo. It really brings that out. It just has something to do with the way the light reflects off of that paint, Whereas in real life, and you can kind of see the trick a little bit more. You can see behind the scenes. But I'm looking at it over in real life with my eyes. I'm looking at it through the lens of the camera, and it does look more convincing, So yeah, getting back to that story, this unique design, and Narin's just been so good over the years, giving us Razix and Dead Royalty, the various AVP pieces. He just creates so many unique twists, a Death Warrior, a Hellbreed, a Bad Blood, and he's like expanding the lore of the Predator through his sculpts, and then Joe Dunaway bring it to life, as only he can. So that's kind of, what I get when I get these pieces is, just kind of seeing the stories that come out. So sometimes, the paint will fit the story. There'll be different stories depending on the paint. I remember a Death Warrior that Joe did where he put tribal tattoos, which is the first time he's ever done that on a Death Warrior that I remember. And I remember thinking that was just so amazing that he did that. And then you're doing 14, 15 versions, you're still reaching deep into that bag of tricks and still coming up with new ideas. That's just really remarkable, So pigmentation, because that's kind of what Joe does to differentiate each piece. They're all a little bit different. And then, of course, the plussing. And then another thing that we look at is the armor and the weathering of the armor. How good is the gunmetal gray, right? And then the different types of scratches. Look at this, look at all the scratches that are on there, how well that's actually brought out, the different colors, the armor. He's been doing a lot more samurai type color palettes. So the armor and the weathering, the gunmetal weathering here for both the base as well as the armor on the Predator, and the contrast between the detail of the armor versus the skin tones. And then, of course, finally, the head, the jaws, the gloss, the quills, all just beautiful, top notch. Those are the major aspects that we see. Basically, these predators are crocodile lizards in full plate armor. That's what it is, right? I don't know whether the blood is part of the kit. I kind of doubt that. I think Joe added that in himself, but right on. It looks great. So there you go, Savage REVGUN. Now, I'm going to try to touch it. And I think I'm going to try to mess around with it. There you go. See if I can just turn the color down a little bit. Yeah, there you go. It's a little bit more challenging because with lower color, the focus is a little bit harder, but I'm turning the brightness down just a tad so that maybe you can now appreciate what it looks like. A little bit less washed out, you know? And this is kind of what I see with my eyes. A little bit less light. We're letting in a little bit less light with this camera so that you can appreciate the detail maybe in a little bit different way. It's really hard because he's kind of hunched over a little bit, so it's harder to kind of show you the beautiful work, you know, again, of that skin pigmentation of the chest and the abdomen. Yeah, this is definitely less light and looks a little bit more natural. But without that light, it's a little bit harder to show the details and little nooks and crannies. But yeah, I kind of like this amount right here a little bit more. Get a little bit deeper so you can see that stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't really care about what I'm saying. You're here for the paint job, right, guys? You're here for the detail, to check out, you what Joe's doing, what Narin's sculpting, what Narin's doing. That's what you're here for. I'm trying to give it to you. I'm trying to give you as much time as possible with this bad boy so you can really see him from all different angles. Maybe see things that I don't even see, So here we are with a gun. It's a little bit blurry, sorry. Again, that's sort of the price you pay for the darker view, is that you have a lot harder time focusing. I have to get really close. But again, you had all that earlier on when I was doing it. So yeah, this is a really, really nice picture right here. Really happy with this little view. This gives you kind of a nice impression of what it looks like. Still looks better in person, but this at least gives you a bit more natural shading right there. Yeah. He'll go very nicely in my Narin collection. Narin's been putting up some nice little projects. I like them. They're, unique. But like he himself said, those are like beginner series, Beginner series, cheaper, simpler. I still like these guys, These are the guys in the $300 to $400 range for unpainted kit, which is pricey to be sure, but more ambitious. Again, tells that story, more lore associated with it, more detail for Joe to really go to town. I want more of these guys. I like these guys. I like big projects. I'm actually not too into like the P1, P2, Berserker, Falconer. Like, I find those kind of boring and kind of played out because like they're from the movies. Companies like Prime One, have already licensed those, and so there's like plenty of licensed pieces in huge sizes for those guys. I mean, I don't know that they're any better. Like, I still think one of the best P1s ever done is still the one by Narin on 6th scale, right up there with like Sideshow, Stan Winston Studios original P1 maquette, or even like a Cinemaquette, the more recent Beast that Prime One released. But like Narin's little 1/6 scale, that's a labor of love. I don't know if you're beating that one when it's sculpted by Narin, painted by Joe, and one of the things I would love for Narin to do is to give us like another P2 along the same vein, like give us a definitive P2. 1/6 scale is fine, I'm not greedy. Make him in scale with a P1, and just give us the best and have Joe paint it. I think we're missing that. I would love to have a P2 to go with that P1. I love a City Hunter to go with that Jungle Hunter. Narin's done a City Hunter, by the way, but that's a way different quarter scale. He's a more clumsy pose. I have that one. I love it, but still, it's not the same. It's not that classic museum pose that we're used to, So I would love that. I would love more pieces like Phalanxer, King Skull Valdez, Savage REVGUN. We got the Valas. That's the predator just kind of like, crouched on a stone hill or stone outcropping. I haven't gotten that one yet, but I think about doing that. Mad Axe, Beltrum. I mean, I like those, I like those predators from Narin that's like ambitious, different. It's like he's creating his own mythology of different predators. I want more of those, actually. I'm down for his beginner series, the Three Musketeers, all those, but again, they tend to be a little bit simpler museum type pieces with less complexity, easier, cheaper, easier to paint, you know. And I'm down for those, but I want them to kind of at least give me one of these a year, you know. Maybe one a year, do that. And I would be really happy if you go back to one of those, the big series. He hasn't done like a really big series, I think, since King and Queen. I mean, I think that was the last one that he did that was worthy of being called a series, right? Series 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. I mean, he's done Aboriginal and all those. And those are pretty badass, and they're complicated. You know, they're not cheap. They're complicated. But you know, when are we going to get a piece that Narin feels is worthy of calling it Series 5 or 6 or 7 or that type of thing? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, there you go. So I'm going to leave you guys now. 30 minutes of my rambling should be more than enough. And you can always put me on mute if all you're here for is just to look at the paint job. I've given you a good 10 plus minutes of Savage REVGUN in new, darker lighting. I'm not sure if we can go even lower than that. I don't know. Let me see. Can we go even lower than that? No, any lower, if it's too much darker, you know, it just loses too much, I think. Like when I go down here, you can see the light reflecting off the countertop. So this is a little bit lighter, you know, there's a little bit more light. But then when I go back up here and there's nothing, and all you're seeing is basically my black backdrop, you know, that's where you definitely see the darkness and my adjustments to the camera are really showing up. I made it a touch darker, but this is about the limit of what I can do before you just start losing the detail, you know? But yeah, this is it. This is what you can't see when Joe just takes pictures and puts them on his Model Zone webpage. You can't necessarily appreciate that. You can only do it through video and then by adjusting again the aperture, you know, the exposure, so to speak. So nice. Nice. Next one up, after I swap them out, I am going to do Dead Royalty. For those of you who don't know, that's a pretty amazing piece. Predator with an alien queen. That's an amazing piece, and I've been putting that off for a while. So we're going to be doing some more Predator reviews. Have patience with me, guys, if I put in a lightsaber once in a while. But that's slowing down. There's a total of 25 master replicas, lightsaber hilts. I have almost all of them. I've made reviews on a whole bunch of them. You know, there's a finite number of those that have to be put up there. There you go. Pretty cool. I hope you'll agree. Yeah, I'm enjoying the, man, I feel kind of dumb, man. I feel kind of dumb that it took me this long to figure out how to adjust the AE, you know, the AE settings so I can actually control how much light is coming in. I think this is pretty good, man. This is pretty badass. I think this is pretty close to showing you what I'm seeing with my naked eye. Maybe a little bit darker. It's still not perfect, but it's pretty close. Pretty close to showing you how amazing this thing looks in person, you know, not with, again, the paint job completely washed out with light. Yeah, this is looking good, real good here. Pretty amazing. All right, thanks for your attention. Until next time, do take care.